Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning if you are in your morning. Today is November 10th, year 2021. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live. My deepest apologies. We forgot to tell people that are in different time zones that the US and I think even Canada moved an hour behind.
Oh,
So people may not show up at the right time. People in the US already understood. And I think we've gone back and forth with Kelly. So he knew that we moved an hour behind, but others may not realize that Facebook Live is an hour behind. And my deepest apologies about that. The second thing, public announcement that I wanted to make is tomorrow's Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day. We are extremely grateful to all our veterans that have sacrificed, families of the veterans that have selflessly given and supported their veterans. So thank you so much. Happy Veterans Day to the veterans tomorrow. So let's get started on our Facebook Live. Eileen, the person that keeps us all very streamlined is not here. I think there is some illness going on in her family. So we will try our best to coordinate all this without Eileen. So starting from the left side of my screen, I'm going to welcome April. Good evening, April. Thank you so much for being here. April is our psychic as well as a spiritual teacher. She's here. And we are welcoming Kelly back, who is our one and only Qigong teacher and a spiritual teacher. Welcome, Kelly. And then we are joined by Ken, who's here as well. Thank you, Ken. I like the blue shirt. Thank you for joining. Ken is a fellow member and one of our core group meditators, as well as Patricia is here. She's also a fellow member. I had posted the initial question from, I'm going to put it in the chat again. Y'all may not see it. So here is the question that Michelle had asked. And Michelle is the Michelle that normally joins our panel. She's not able to make it today in the evening. The question she asked, Eckhart says that true love has no opposite, but in reading other writers, activists like Elie Wiesel, he states that the opposite of love is indifference. Could it be we are talking about different forms of love, like the love you feel for another human being versus the love for the sanctity of life? April, do you want to get started on this? And I'm going to check on the chat. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just trying to absorb her question here for a second. Eckhart says that true love has no opposite, but in other writers states that the opposite of love is indifference. There are different forms of love, like the love that you feel for another human being versus the love for sanctity of life. There is, I don't think that's how Eckhart meant it, really, honestly. I don't think he meant it in that way, because there is an opposite to love, especially here on Earth. We live in this dichotomy, and we live in, black, white, up, down, hot, cold. So there is an opposite to love. There's a lack of love. It is the heart being shut down, the heart chakra, the heart center being shut down. So there is an opposite, and there are also different levels of love. But again, I don't think that in that segment of Eckhart, I don't think that's what he was talking about. Ultimately, the only answer is love to all. That is the answer to peace, to happiness, to health, to abundance, is to have that unconditional love. So, but I do think that there is different levels of love. I certainly love my cat different than I love my children, right? There, so there are different levels of love. So I don't know. I don't think that this is, I think it's a different context. Ultimately, one of the things that Eckhart teaches a lot, and one of the things that it takes practice to do, is to learn to look at everything through the eyes of love, through the eyes of source. And then when you are in that state, there is no opposite to love. Everything is love. Everything is good. It is like what we talk about a lot. Punami, you talk a lot about is accept everything as if you asked for it, as if you wanted it, as if it's okay, if it has been done on purpose. Embrace it with that emotion, embrace it with that energy. And in that energy, there is nothing opposite, and everything is okay. Everything is being done for a reason, and it will all work out. So these are my ideas on what she's saying, but I think she's taken it into a different kind of realm. As far as what Eckhart means, yes, there is only one answer, and it is love, and it's to love everything. My favorite, one of my favorite stories is the one about the Mother Teresa, where they talk about going out into the city, and she goes out into the city and she says she sees God or Jesus in all of his disguises. That's one of my favorite stories. And it's looking at all of the poverty and the homeless people on the street, but seeing them through only the eyes of love. That is a very healing place to be. It's a very peaceful place to be. It's a place that I think all of us that are here and on this panel and the members, we strive to get there. So, but as far as what she's talking about, it's a little bit different. I think it's a little bit different. And there's levels of love too when you haven't reached that state of everything is love, when you haven't got there. So I'll have to think about this question a little bit more.
If something comes up, let us know, and then you can speak.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the reason why I say accept as though you chose it is because the present moment is as it is, because it could not have been otherwise. Knowing that, we accept it. If it was otherwise, some other, from that quantum field, like Nada was talking about during our group meditation, we would have pulled, in this multi-dimensional being, we would have pulled another experience. So that's why it could not have been otherwise, because we pulled this certain experience.
Yeah. But when we come from this space of love, from the heart alchemy, when you come from that space, then you're able to accept what is. You're able to accept the present moment. And that's what I think Eckhart points to when he says this. It's not that, I don't have a different love for my cat than my child, but when I come from that heart space, that's where you want to be. That's where everything is love. And that's the answer.
Perfect. Thank you. And Eckhart is talking about coming from what April said, coming in as source. So love arising out of pure presence power. When we are in that highest vibrational state, there's nothing but what is called loving kindness and compassion, empathy that flows, benevolence that flows, goodwill that flows towards anything, like even a pencil. He says that you can hold up pencil and then feel the vibrational frequency of that pencil, that inanimate object, and feel love towards it. So that's what he's talking about. Kelly, did you want to, thank you, April. You want to say something about this? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, short answer first. Yes. First of all, we're talking about completely two different writers and exponents of the concept of love, Tolle and Eli Wiesel. They're two different people, so they have two different takes on this concept of love and the opposite. two completely different filters on reality. So they are speaking from completely different perspectives and opinions on love and the concept of love. There are many different kinds of love. There are many different layers to the actual reality of the divine vibration of love. And one of the things that we have to differentiate here is between the ego attachment, fear-based definition of love through drama, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the whole kindergarten romantic concept of Harlequin romance type of love, and the deeper truths of actually communicating with heart space through heart space at a soul level type of relationship with self, let alone with someone else. So the short answer is yes, they're talking about two completely different types of love. And honestly, when you get into the vibrational love, when you understand the space of reality that being aligned with your heart actually means understanding the opposite of love is self-evident. You don't need to be stuck on mental definitions and mental analysis of love. You know it, you understand it. There are many different opposing energies, but it really boils down to the balancing act between fear and love. Whether or not you want to call fear indifference, or whether or not, I don't really ascribe to the concept that true love, and again, the use of language here is important to note, because define true and define love, and if we're using English language, then there are multiple possible perspectives on those two words alone, let alone Eli Wiesel's perspective on the word indifference. And, you go, yeah, okay, we can use Eckhart's whole concept of, we go back to the source and everyone's one and everyone's love and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a whole lot to deal with and perceive and discern between here and there. And this is one of the things to really understand, is to understand how important it is to go inside and to be present, and to understand that even though Eckhart is saying this, our own personal journey will differ from his. And I personally, I don't want to be like Eckhart totally, because I'm me. I wouldn't want to try and be him. I wouldn't want to try and understand his perspective. I want to understand what love means to me. Using other people's points of reference is great. It's what we do. It's how we learn. It's how we understand what actually fits and feels right for us. So, this is a great question that Michelle's bringing up, is to actually look at these different points of view and these different opinions. You have to understand these are opinions based on personal experience. No one will have the same personal experience. No one. And from that personal experience, we try and communicate what it is that we understand, what it is that we experience, what it is that we're feeling. All of the varied experiences that we have around emotion, around feelings, are all about us understanding how to be present with ourselves. The words don't matter. The words are guideposts. The words are like numbers on pages in a book. You know where you are based on the page number. They're a way of having a context, a perceptual context for understanding all these multiple angles of this grand concept. And this is sort of one of the things that I've come to understand through my own journey, is that when I was younger, I had such a rigid attachment to a singular perception of love, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be loved, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And fought what I felt inside of the grander vision of stepping beyond the mental ego attachment, the mental projections, the cultural conditioning, the family and societal conditionings of the perception of love. And those are far more important to understand than anyone else's words. When you understand your own conditioning, your own mental, emotional, egoic attachment and conditioning, then you understand how you limit yourself. So we shouldn't get caught up in other people's words. We should understand, we should go inside and be present with ourselves and understand how we are getting caught up in our own perceptual limitations and our limited belief systems. Because once we understand our limited belief systems, then we understand how we do not love ourselves, how we do not love other people, how we have a limited belief around love, and how that limited belief shapes how we analyze things. So the first thing to do, even though understanding other people's words is really, really important, is we need to understand our own belief systems. We need to understand how we limit our own selves and our own perceptions of our feelings and emotional information, because emotions are just energy in motion, except we plop all these ideas onto all that energy that we are feeling in our bodies in motion. And we need to understand for ourselves our own clarity, our own wisdom of our hearts, of understanding our own words and what things mean for ourselves. Understanding, having other points of reference, other people's words as a point of reference is great. It's super important, because that's how we learn to feel whether or not something fits into our reality or not, or helps us understand our reality or not. So, you know, I can get into, yes, words are only signposts. Exactly. The attachment to words is something that hinders us greatly. Words are based in societies and cultures. Language itself is a culture of perception. Study another language, break your cultural perceptions of language. I mean, I grew up learning French, so I had like 2 languages in my head my entire life. I've studied German, Spanish, Cree, Ojibwe, and Mandarin, and everybody has completely different words and symbolic natures within their language about things that us using English think we understand, because we understand this one word. But it's really just like, you just turn that, ball around a little bit, and like that little diamond facet, you see how things shine completely differently when you just change the angle of perspective just a little bit. And this is like a big topic. This is like a huge topic, and I'll just leave it right there.
Your 2 cents, 3 cents, 3 pennies.
3 pennies.
Thank you. And what I would say is, when you said, Kelly, that don't read the words and absorb their beliefs, like Eckhart says this, know it for your own experience. So in that stillness,
Yes,
when we are in that meditative state, in that complete and total utter stillness, the love that we feel, like what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, there's a 3-meter field around us. The heart, the coherence, brain heart coherence, there's a 3-meter field around us. So that's what love is that magnetic, electromagnetic energy. That 3-meter, are we contracting? Do we have feelings of guilt, shame, blame? And so that field is contracting, and it's like very, very, like almost contracted into us? Or is it expansive, where it's that 3-meter field around us, and we are feeling loving kindness for no matter what it is, no matter whether it is a pandemic, no matter what is going on in this world, that 3-meter field is there around us. So thank you for that pointer. Beautiful. Ken, did you want to say something about this?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Kelly, thank you so much for April and Kelly, what you said, and Poonam yourself. And I love it when you were saying it has to come from each and every one of us, the way we describe it. And to me, I feel like I've been on a love path ever since I was born. And I really do feel like we come from love, but then our humanness have many lessons to learn on what love is and how we learn different things. And to me, how the beginning was fear and love, and all I knew was fear. And then when the pain was becoming so great, I learned a long time ago that I needed to stop hating myself and learn to love myself. And in order to do that, the pain had to get so great that I had to learn what surrender was, or I had to learn actually what love was. And to me, love came from something I couldn't say, and I needed to surrender that. So that opened me up, or that cracked me open in ways that I didn't understand. But being on this path, I want to call my human path, it took me to greater places, a greater understanding of love, to help me understand that that's why I'm here, to have breakthroughs and to learn lessons. So, and I'm learning, because it took me a long time before I could really love myself, because I didn't like who I was. And until I learned certain aspects of love, it brought me to higher levels of consciousness. And understanding that nothing happens by mistake in God's world. And I'm realizing I'm having gratitude for what I thought really sucked in my life. And I'm learning that the things that were happening to me just brought me deeper and deeper into the unconscious levels of bringing on more pain and suffering. And now I'm realizing that all that pain and suffering is happening to teach me. They're stepping stones to a deeper level of love. So there's unconditional love that's coming through the higher power. And I'm now learning that I'm knowing the difference between right and wrong. So that's at that level of love. And so I'm learning to read the body, my levels of my spirituality, my emotions. So more and more I'm learning what I'm not, and I'm learning that I am love. And so it's a good topic. And there's so many different ways we could go with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
I feel Eckhart may have said the word love has no opposite, in the sense that when we are in that depth of presence, that loving kindness has no opposite. I mean, there's no polarity anymore. I don't know if it makes sense. It's just pure, unconditional love, like Ken was saying, in that alignment with inner beingness or alignment with source. So that's why Eckhart is saying love, experience that love, experience that high vibrational state where there is no opposite. The reason why Elie Wiesel said the opposite of love is indifference is because he was a survivor of the concentration camp in Auschwitz. And as a survivor, he saw what happened to 6 million Jews. And he is saying how indifferent was the world until America actually came and like the Allies actually got together and came in and saved everyone, right? But it took them so long. It took the world, just like it's taking the world so long to come to peace with the Middle East. It's taking the world so long to come to peace with Syria. Like, what is going on with the world? So that's what Elie Wiesel is talking about. He's not actually saying that his statement of the opposite of love is indifference is how much indifference of humanity, and this is exactly what Eckhart says, right? That Nazi Germany, how indifferent they had become, that this other became the egoic mind, the mental bias of being attached to an opinion. What did that do? Now that mental bias is reflected in making the other an enemy, and 6 million people lost their lives, and babies and little children and young mothers got separated from their children and were sent to the gas chamber, right? So that's what he's talking about when he says, what is the opposite of love? And that love, the opposite is indifference, is because he wants everyone to feel that indifference, feel that disempowerment, how disempowered was the rest of the planet against just one small little Germany, right? Until they got together, until the compassion arose, right? It took 6 million lives for the compassion to arise. He's saying next time, don't let it be 6 million people. Let the compassion arise. So let the presence arise ahead of time, which I think we are making quite a few gains in consciousness. I know everybody seems to think that consciousness is regressing. To me, all of us are here. We have so many members on the Facebook group. Leave alone that, there's so many spiritual teachers, and I feel there's an uprising of consciousness in this world. It's not actually digressing. So we can talk about that as well. Patricia, did you want to say something about this, or you want me to go to April again?
I have something quick which came up. I mean, each one of us has the experience of what we think, not even think, how we feel love, and the journey, like Ken said, or what Kelly said, that it's really individually, it's a signpost for us to see which other person's perspective resonates. So, I get both, perspective, Eckhart's and Elise Wiesel, because when I listen to Eckhart, and we communicate using language. Some people believe that we will reach at certain point the level of ability to communicate, like through telepathic abilities. So we won't have to use words anymore, because first of all, we lose a lot of energy talking. And second of all, each one of us really have a different definition, even of the same word, living in the same country, in the same culture. When I say love, it's really, I can't possibly know what you're hearing when I'm saying it. So we really just, I think, each one of us talking to the other person, we're just trying to explain our own experience of it. And the other person can, hear it depending where they are in their life, in their journey. So if I hear the same talk of Eckhart today, it's the same talk, it's recorded, right? I hear it differently than I heard it a month ago. And that's why I find it fascinating that I keep listening to the same talks of his that are recorded on YouTube. And then the same thing, it's just like I hear it the first time in my life, because I am hearing it the first time in this moment. So, and I did understand indifference as the opposite of love, because I had an experience. I grew up in Poland, so there are concentration camps there. And part of their education, in school, we had to take trips, and there are museums now, so you go and you witness with everything. I got very physically sick, so I couldn't stand there a long time. It's like a holy ground. But there was 2 places in the actual camp that got me so that I couldn't even breathe. One was when there was a shower to which the Jewish people were put, telling them, oh, we're gonna just wash you. So they were, stripped naked. So they were locked in that shower. And there was an outside little place with a seat for a German soldier to stand there and look through the little window, little tiny thing. And he was actually looking how long it takes, that making sure that everybody is down dead before they open the door. So he was standing there. And I really don't know what he was thinking that day, but he must have been so indifferent, right, in that moment, that these are actually people being killed, and he just makes sure that he follows the instructions of keeping it exactly 5 minutes or whatever, that everybody is with the gas after. It's just, that's for me is indifference. It's pure, because he wasn't scared. I mean, he was standing there on the opposite side, so he wasn't scared. It's like, so it must have been this indifference. And the second place was when there was ovens, when they were actually putting the bodies into the ovens to be burned, and the energy from the burned bodies were redirected into a bathroom for the officer of the camp when he was taking, I can't even say, he was taking hot baths, luxurious baths during war, with the fuel from the water being heated up, but people being burned. This is for me such an indifference. I mean, I would not, come on. So that's why his experiences of it were so, and that's, I am saying that must have been pure indifference. So, and, I was listening also to April saying of it different levels, and exactly depending, and Eckhart says it's too, on that human experience, the love with the physical world, and then that when we are conscious completely in presence. So the opposite of love, which comes from complete presence, right? Would be not consciousness. It would be not being conscious. That's where all the bad stuff coming up, the ego stuff, the fear, the indifference, the stuff, right? So maybe it's all about each one of us, having different journey, and trying to share it with others, like, hear my words, this is what I think or feel, or what my experiences, but these are I'm limited to the words I'm using. So the best I can, I'm explaining, knowing that it's only 20-something%, it's actual verbal communication. There's other body language, energy, we communicate on that level too. So words are really just, I don't know, like little things that help us a little bit navigate maybe the reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Thank you for explaining the indifference part. And that's what I was trying to be very, not very graphic, but that's what Eckhart says is, it's so easy when we are attached to our opinion to make the other into an enemy to that extent that we are okay to see them being gassed in a shower, right? So, and we're not understanding that there's a human life that is passing away right in front of us, right? Not that human life is more superior than like another animal or whatever it may be, but it still is like you're taking life in front of you. So thank you. Thank you for that visual. Hopefully Michelle will get her answer. April, did something else come up for you?
No, I think it's been covered, and I'm listening to everybody else's opinions or ideas too. So
Let me pull up another question then. Okay, so the next question, this was asked as part of School of Awakening. This person asked Eckhart, and they must have recently become like a little bit more self-aware through Eckhart's teachings, going through School of Awakening, going through, what do you call it? Maybe they're, I don't know what stage I could judge what this person was in their awareness process, but they say, what do? I keep seeing so many conditioned patterns arising, focusing me into them, but I have normal business to run and I'm getting overwhelmed. So they're now able to see their own conditioned patterns and the patterns of people around them. Does that make sense? And so now they're getting overwhelmed by all the patterns.
they're getting overwhelmed by noticing all the behaviors and patterns in them and others. I think that happens at first. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily got overwhelmed, but it certainly was a lot when I started noticing. That's one of my favorite exercises to give people, is to create that awareness. Because without that awareness, there is no next step. You have to have the awareness to know the pattern, to know the conditioning, to know the emotional state, the thinking patterns, all of it. So that's my favorite exercise to give. And it's still, I can kind of see Eckhart chuckling as I say this, because I'm kind of chuckling, you know, that when I say this to people still to this day, I get looked at like I'm crazy. When I say, I need you to start to pay attention, to step outside of yourself, to become aware of what you're thinking. What are you doing? Where's that energy at? Is it in your stomach? How intense is it? What are you feeling? Are you feeling anger? Are you feeling that stupid son of BBB? What are you doing? And they just like, and I even had somebody say to me, isn't that crazy? And I'm like, no, that's a conditioned pattern, that you think that it's crazy to become aware of yourself, that you think it's crazy to talk to yourself, to, you know, so I'm just kind of humored by it. But I do remember when I first started doing it, and I guess it can be kind of overwhelming, because when you start to notice this, you do notice a lot, and you do notice a lot in yourself and others, pretty much everybody and everything. And there's a kind of a little space there where it feels like, oh my God, like, can I do this? Like, there's so much, right? So what I did for myself and what I always suggest is, at first, I want you to just become aware. I just want you to take note. Just start taking note. I don't want you to actually do anything at first, because to first figure out how to become aware, create that consciousness, that awareness, step outside of yourself to observe all the energies, that's a job in itself. Let's do that first. Let's get comfortable with that. Let's see, what kind of patterns do I have? Do I have deflecting pattern? Do I have, you know, what are my patterns that I have? What are the patterns of other people? Then we can start implementing practices. So I suggest breaking it down. But I have to tell you that when I get to explain this to people, and it's not necessarily to create a stereotype, but you guys, when I work with men who work in factories or construction, and I say, I want you to step back for one day and watch all the egos. And I said, if you start to do that, there's a point where you can start to watch the egos and go, whoa, that's a big one. And it's humorous. It's funny. Why is it funny at that point? Because what we have done is when you start to watch these patterns, these behaviors, is you can separate from them. The emotions become untangled. You are no longer entangled. You are separate from the emotional state. So now it can almost become humorous when somebody comes up to you and their ego is flying all over the place and they're, trying to push all their control, but you are over here observing you and them and all the patterns, and you're not affected by the pattern. To me, that's true freedom. That's where the true freedom comes. So as far as the question goes, yes, it can be overwhelming. My suggestion is to start small, practice, break it down. And then the biggest part in that, though, is learning to separate from it and not take it personally. And to know that that's a conditioned pattern in you, and that's a conditioned pattern in that person. That's what they mean by that's the level that person's functioning off of. Right? That's their pattern. That's what they know. And as for right now, their blinders are on. Their veil is closed. Their eyes, they can't see. They don't know a different pattern. They think this pattern is, that's it. That's the pattern they know. And until we take the blinders off and open the horizon, they can't know or behave in a different manner. So that is the bigger part to me, is when you learn to not take it personally. And sometimes you chuckle to yourself, and sometimes what happens is you can actually, and I think Eckhart does this, where again, I'm not emotionally attached to it, but I can have compassion for that person and their pattern. I can also have compassion for myself and my pattern. That doesn't mean I like the pattern, but I can have compassion and I can see why I have that pattern. And then if you want to change it, first you have to notice it. Once you notice it, you separate from it emotionally, then you can start to create the new person that you want to be. That's usually my process.
Beautiful. Thank you, April. And isn't it like in the beginning, we almost are a little bit judgmental of others? Like we go, oh, there goes the ego. Oh, that's an ego. That person is acting out of shame. That person is acting out of guilt. That person is acting out of self-esteem issue, right? It almost is judgmental in the beginning.
Well, in my profession, that's part of my job. But again, yeah, all the labels, it's all unconsciousness, period. And it's all not knowing your true value and not, that unconditional love. But yeah.
So I wouldn't even use the word that this person has become. That's why I was a little bit uncomfortable saying that this person is awakened or enlightened, because when you are awakened and enlightened, the judgment goes away. You just accept whatever is as it is, and you're not looking at another's pattern anymore. Right? True? Thank you. Thank you, April. Kelly, did you want to say something about this before you start? I wanted to thank Summer and Cecile and Trish for being online with us. They finally made it right on time. So thank you. Go ahead, Kelly. Thank you.
Okay, so the question, okay, first of all, April, very well said. There is very little that I could actually add to the mechanics of the observation. I mean, for me, it's just like, stepping into observation, to observe what the mind is doing, to see what the ego is doing. When we are first seeing our patterns and actually identifying and connecting the dots, it can be a little disturbing realizing how much of ourselves we really didn't know about, how much of our behavior we really didn't have any control over, we weren't really present with at all. Understanding that there is this whole other reality of awareness can be slightly disconcerting and challenging to absorb and digest and process. Never mind when we're seeing it in other people because we're seeing it in ourselves. And that's how it works. We're seeing it in other people because we've identified it in ourselves and we've begun to connect the dots inside ourselves and see it inside of ourselves. And because we are simply observing ourselves, we see the pattern outside of us everywhere we are because we're becoming aware of it. It's like suddenly realizing that there's a yellow truck. And then you start seeing yellow trucks everywhere. And it's, oh my God, the world's populated by yellow trucks. What happened? It's one of those things. And then you go, oh, yellow truck. And then they seem to disappear, right? When we observe something, it changes, but in order to actually observe it, we have to let ourselves become aware of it. And it can feel overwhelming. And the physical sensations of being overwhelmed is very normal, very natural part of the process. Because our awareness is changing and growing, our nervous system has to as well. So our nervous system and our body has to change alongside and at pace with our awareness, with the growth of our awareness and the connection with our hearts and our practice of being present with ourselves and holding space for ourselves. So it gives, I just checking what you posted there, put on. The reality of the evolution, and again, April, so well said. It's pretty much exactly what I do with people that I'm coaching, and with my 4 kids. It's like myself. When this first started happening to me, I'm like, what am I doing with my mind? What am I doing with my mind? What am I doing with my mind? What's my mind doing? What's my mind doing? What's my mind? He's like, what am I saying? What am I saying? Stepping into that space of observation and repeating, because you got to understand your ego and your shadow, your reptilian brain, emotional defenses are going to fight you tooth and nail to make you feel so overwhelmed that you don't want to see anything else, that you push back and you close those doors because they don't want you to see, because that part of your personality, that part of your programming, that part of your defense mechanism do not want you to see, do not want you to understand how much you've been on automatic at such a deep level in so many ways. And it's hard at first. It absolutely is. And quite honestly, it'll suck. To just put it bluntly, it will be awful and it will suck. And there's no real healing, real evolution is not glamorous. It's not pretty. It's not handsome. It's not joyful, blissful, but it is full of love. But it's not the kind of love that we have been taught about. It is full of the kind of love that is so deep, your ego and your shadow run screaming for the hills because they realize you have found truth. When you find the truth in that observation, that space of feeling overwhelmed, but you're like, okay, I'm going to push through this. And that's the thing. You have to push through it. That's the only thing to do. You have to let yourself feel everything. You have to push and you have to force yourself to face everything that you're feeling. And you have to understand that forcing yourself to do this is where your strength is. This would not be coming up. This would not be happening unless your heart and your mind were actually strong enough. And this is one of the big things that people misunderstand, is they feel something's wrong with them and that they have to fix it. And what they actually have to just do is just center themselves and force themselves to work through it and to step through it and to let themselves feel everything and to be present with everything. And that's why it's coming up, because this is the learning experience. This is coming up because you have given yourself space And because you are actually this strong, it doesn't come up unless you have actually found a strong foothold and a place to stand in strength in your heart, in your awareness. This stuff doesn't happen unless that space is there. So instead of beating yourself up, you have to also understand that part of the laws of the universe is that emotion or energy in motion only happens when there's space for it, when there is a conduit that is strong enough to deal with it, to face it, to hold it, and to love it. And when it's happening to you and you're observing these spaces and these patterns inside of yourself, it's because you are actually strong enough. And this is one of my hardest lessons when I was beginning to really do my work and buckle down and push myself through stuff, is that I realized that I was strong enough, and that was the whole point. That was the thing to recognize, and that I was strong enough to be present with everything that I was feeling, even though it sucked, even though it was not fun. And it was, some of the experiences were I want to, part of my brain wants to say they were the worst experiences ever, but I can't even say that. My body just literally, I can't even say that, because my perspective now, having pushed myself through those spaces, is like, no, not knowing is worse. Not being on this other side, like I can't imagine not knowing. And that's who I am. Me not knowing, not being able to give myself that space, not giving myself those experiences, not choosing the strength, would have been way worse than where I am now. But in the moment, it's really hard to appreciate that. It's really hard to appreciate the other side of getting through all that, because you're feeling everything and you're feeling overwhelmed, and your ego and your shadow are clamoring for attention and control and trying to distract you.
So Kelly, would you say, because as you're blah, there's been some things that I've had to go through recently. Some, like, when we heal and we do this conditioning pattern, and then we think, okay, I'm good, right? And then it's time to go to that next level.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, there's another level. So that's what I'm doing right now. And the things that I were going through, they seem inherently more painful and deeper. Mm-hmm. But what's happening once I release that?
Yeah.
So I'll just tell you guys, when I'm interrupting. So when I was a kid, because I was so angry, I was a really bad teenager. I was bad. I was so bad, right? For 1.5 years of my life, I was super bad. And I did like all these things. And it finally hit me the other day that I need to stop. And my mom is dead. She's been gone 6 years. But I need to apologize to my mom. I need to apologize energetically, generationally, spiritually to my mom. So I was like, because the pattern is, I had a bad life, so therefore I was an angry kid. So it's okay that I was angry. I've done my work and I've healed. But I was like, no, I need to stop. And I need to actually apologize, because that's a conditioned pattern, that it's okay to act up because I'm a teenager. It's not, right?
Yep.
So I'm wrapping it into your discussion, Poonam.
Yes.
It's a conditioned pattern that it's okay to be that way because I was treated wrongly. Mm-hmm. So then I heal that. What's happening energetically in the body when that, I want to say dies, but it doesn't die, because it gives you that peace. I have that internal peace now that is healed. But what happened energetically? It alchemy is what? What?
Yes.
What,
okay. Well, okay. I see what the question is. What happens energetically?
Because you're saying I have peace. I'd rather be on the other side. I'd rather have had that. But what happened?
You would have pulled you would have pulled another from that probability in the quantum field. You would have pulled energetically a different person. You're no longer the person that created that.
Yes. Short answer is yes. exactly what Poonam said. When you actually integrate that wound, when you heal that wound and you close it, especially with the laws of forgiveness, when you forgive yourself and you recognize it, this is, thank you so much for bringing this up, because this is actually super, super important to understand. Thank you so much for
Beautiful.
sharing, because the law of forgiveness is a
It's just all kind of linking in together. So I thought, you know what? Yeah.
Yeah, the law of forgiveness is something that really needs to be appreciated, and accepting it as a reality when we forgive ourselves. This is exactly one of the things that I had to do when I first started experiencing all this dichotomy of seeing everything and seeing myself, and like, oh my God, I was brought to tears so many times realizing what I had done, inadvertently or just unconsciously, being completely unconscious, and how I had to forgive myself and how I had to apologize energetically to the people who I hadn't seen in years, and I just sent that out and I forgave myself, and it transmutes the energy, it transmutes the ego attachment, transmutes the pain attachment that we have to that experience, to that person, or that emotional information. So you integrate it, and yes, Poonam, you literally become a different person. The person you were three minutes ago, 3 hours ago. This is why being in the present is literally being in the present, where you were literally not the person you were 3 minutes ago. You're literally not the person you were in the last breath that you just took. But especially when you are practicing the laws of, I'm getting goosebumps here, the laws of forgiveness, it changes everything. When you forgive yourself, you forgive your parents. I mean, this is something that I've done. I used to be so angry. My parents don't know half of the stuff I did when I moved out, when I was on my own. And I come from a good Mennonite family, right? Good Mennonite Roman Catholic mix. So a lot of repressed stuff there that I worked through. And again, when I realized how unconscious I was, and I started to forgive myself, just the sheer level of understanding, just the depth of peace that gave me, of understanding that, okay, I don't have to speak directly to the person. As you said, your mom is gone, your mom's on the other side, and there are people that are no longer in my life that I had to forgive for participating in the events that led to me holding on to a lot of anger, or developing a rigid thought pattern that I didn't have to spend time deconstructing. But you're absolutely right. Thank you so much, April and Poonam. You're both right on the money. You transmute and you integrate, and you literally become a completely new person.
And I have to say, April, just today I posted this on the Facebook group. This is from Nature of Personal Reality, because it coincides with what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, which it says a new belief in the present, however, can cause changes in the past on a neuronal level. You must understand that basically time is simultaneous. Your past is still going on in this present. Present beliefs can indeed alter the past. In some cases of healing, in the spontaneous disappearance of cancer, for instance, or of any other disease, certain alterations are made that affect cellular memory, genetic codes, or neuronal patterns in the past. In such cases, there is, as easily as I can explain it, a reaching into deep biological structures as they existed at one time. At that point, the probabilities are altered and the condition erased in your present, but also in your past. That's exactly what I posted today, that the past has no power over your present moment.
Yeah.
No power whatsoever.
I thought that was like on a surface level, like, when it's almost like an entitlement. It's definitely ego. It's almost an entitlement of, well, you did this to me, so I did that to you. And I thought, and then it just hit me like, this is it hit me this last week. That's a conditioned pattern for me to have that belief. And it's not true. And if I'm truly on this journey and I'm truly wanting to heal and to be free and to make change, not just in me, but my generations, future generations, the world, I need to let go of that conditioned pattern and stop feeling righteous and say, I'm sorry. And that was wrong. And, you know, so but energetically, when that happens, you know, when you're talking about, it wasn't fun. I didn't like it. It did feel good, but it's almost as if all that bad, angry, hard, tense energy, it just kind of like dies. It just kind of melts away, and it's all peace and free flowing and loving.
That's
So
because you pulled another April.
Yeah. So
Energetically.
challenging these conditioned patterns is, I've always thought it was important, but I got a real taste of some generational stuff that, you know, it's really important. It's phenomenal.
And right before we joined, we had a short conversation and you talked about a life situation changing because of your new revelation. Your shift in consciousness is taking all that is not going to work for you away from you. That situation was not going to let you consciously shift, like make quantum leaps. So universe took it away because you made this shift. Makes sense? It's clearing space for you. But that needs to go away, and like you're doing workshops with us. New horizons are rising. Welcome the new. And like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, right? Look at your new potential. Look, you could be like a Tony Robbins addressing 17,000 people in a big basketball stadium, right? What has the other situation got to do where you're dealing with 10, 15 people or 30 people or whatever? See yourself as addressing 17,000 people.
Yeah. And energetically, I think it does something. You know, Kelly knows much more about the energetic stuff than I do. I mean, I know little bits, but energetically, and Joe Dispenza talks about it, it really does change you physically, energetically. It really, you know.
Oh yeah.
And this is the piece of healing that we all talk about. Like, it's peaceful. Don't be afraid, do it, because it really does make a difference.
I was listening to very short. So because I got interested in Florence Scovel Shinn, I think YouTube just sends me another video from this person called Brian Scott. I don't know how many of you have. He runs a channel called Reality Revolution, and the one that I listened to him about was A New Earth. What is a new earth? And he was saying what a new earth is this expansion that's 3-meter field, and we connect heart to heart. And as more and more of us expand, which I can see, like now Patricia is feeding that openness, right? A month or two back, Patricia was totally different. And right before we joined, she was like, oh my God, I found this group and I found all these people and all these conversations. Just like Ken, look how we're connecting, right? That heart. I feel that 3-meter field, it's invisible, but it's connecting. I mean, I always think, I don't know how I got connected to April, but there is so much love for April. Like it's like very unusual. We would never, ever, if somebody wanted to do chronological time, there was no way that April could have met me in real time, right? But now look, and how many people love April on this Facebook panel, right? They love having your workshop sessions. They love having you when you joined the group meditation, everybody was ecstatic, like joy, love, right? Look at all the love you get, April.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Poonam, I had joined your group, but it was synchronicity, because I had joined your group. I had scrolled through it, but that night I caught your live. And I had a severe sinus infection, and I was so fed up of getting those. And that was my question, was how do I quit sinking into the 3D body And then Kelly gave his answer. And that's how it happened. But I'd been asking the universe, I'm like, because I was being told for almost 2 years, you're supposed to be doing more. You're supposed to be talking to people, more people. And so I had been asking, okay, send me to the right place where I can talk to people. Where do you want me to go? And here, it led me here to you. That's how it happened. It's just the universe working. So
Beautiful. Thank you. So from Kelly's conversation, what came to my mind is Kelly is saying, feel the emotions, right? That's where your answer is. But what happens is, and this is where Eckhart's, one of the limiting beliefs, Kelly, I feel is how the ego, and this is what awareness and Eckhart's teachings helped me, was to start to observe how my thoughts wanted to like just be one after the other. Or let me think about the next thing instead of feeling, right? Okay, I'm feeling icky. I just had this conference call and now I'm feeling icky. Instead of feeling, it's like, oh, let me do another IM, or let me do another email, or let me do another thing. So instead of having that gap, like what Eckhart says, right? Like having the gap, it's like one thought after the other, and then one thought after the other. And constantly we are just thinking. And then leave alone thinking, we had a beautiful conversation during group meditation. One of our attendees, Ashok, one day said, we were talking about surrender, and he said, shouldn't you surrender to your guru? And I thought, why is he saying that? And then I realized, yes, you have to surrender until that awareness arises, that high vibrational frequency arises. You have to surrender to your guru, because those thoughts, then you want to interpret whatever is happening according to your interpretation. So if you don't surrender to the guru, you'll keep interpreting. You'll just stay in your interpretation of what it is, right? You'll want to interpret whatever is happening. But if you surrender to the guru and you say, okay, for now, I'll take, and each person needs to see which person they can surrender to, whether you can take Michael Singer's teachings and surrender to them, Sadhguru's teachings and surrender to them, Deepak Chopra's teachings, Byron Katie. There's so many spiritual leaders, right? Find one teacher, learn their teaching inside out. Because if not, you're lost in an interpretation, right? That becomes your limiting belief. Then there's no growth. You're just stuck in your own thoughts. What do you say, Kelly?
I can appreciate that perspective, but I'm someone who's never had a guru. I'm someone who's never done the classical, although I've wanted to, and I've had teachers that I wanted to actually do that with. But I've always immersed myself, like from such a young age, I immersed myself in so many different traditions. And I was meditating from such a young age that a lot of, like, when I actually, and growing up out in the cities, like being out in nature 24/7 allowed me to have a very expansive, if isolated, connection to nature that really, if anything, if there was a guru that I ever surrendered to, it was nature, just being in nature. So I guess in a sense, I have actually done that, just sort of in, you know, the traditional sense of having like a human teacher, being out in nature. I guess I have actually done that. The time that I spent by the river doing the traditional Zen meditation without realizing what I was doing until I started going to Buddhist workshops and trainings and stuff like that. So I can totally appreciate that. I can totally appreciate the surrender aspect, because you have to understand that there is something greater than 3D reality, than the limited 5 senses. You have to surrender to the concept that there is more, that what you understand is only a small piece of reality until you actually connect to that greater cosmic ocean. So yes, I can totally understand the surrender aspect, but for me, it was more surrendering to listening, surrendering to listening to my heart, to listen to my feelings, and being out in nature. Again, my only point of reference for that would be the amount that I surrendered to feeling nature around me, to being in nature as a kid growing up. And that would probably be my guru, to be perfectly honest. So
And even to take up Buddhist teachings, right? You have to accept your upbringing doesn't bring you to Buddhist teaching, right? Your upbringing is not about Buddhism. So you have to surrender and say, like there's an inner surrender that I'll accept this newness.
okay,
It's a new type of teaching, right? New type of spirituality. Because if the surrender is not there, you won't absorb it. Because you have to do.
I honestly disagree with that.
Because you have to do your martial arts that is imbued with that kind of teaching, right?
Yeah, there is.
I think maybe instead of surrender, what if we just said, I mean, you need to be open.
Open
right?
would be an openness.
And what I say is, I state be open, take it with a grain of salt. There are some things that this teacher just won't work for you. You just were like, nope, not that one. But be open to the suggestions of the new ways of thinking and being. That's
even my karate sensei, my first karate sensei was like, I'm going to teach you karate, but I don't know everything. So don't take my word for it. Go and find out for yourself. So that was, even my grandpa, who taught me how to box, to deal with the bullies in grade 6, he was like, I'm going to teach you how to fight, but you have to understand how and when to use it.
So, you have to find out for yourself, but the initial, like the chisel, right? Like how they talk about that Buddha statue that was covered with clay, but it was gold, and the monk hit the first chisel. The first chisel, you have to be open to be chiseled.
Yep.
If you're not open, you're not going to. If we continue our resistance and go, hey, what is Kelly saying? It's all foo-foo, whatever they say, right? It's woo-woo stuff.
I feel you hit on it in terms of the whole word resistance. If you're resisting new information, then you're not going to learn. And that was one of the things. Again, very, very lucky with my martial art teachers. And I've encountered very open teachers and very closed-minded and very traditional teachers who hoarded information and who then kicked me out of the club when I actually started developing skill or showed that I understood. And I was just like, oh, okay, great. Here you go. Yay, good learning experience. Awesome. But yes, resistance to new information, resistance to new spaces, especially when it comes to spiritual information and spiritual teachings, you want to have an open mind. You want to have an open heart. But again, take it with a grain of salt. That's,
and then experience it, learn the new information, then experience it until you experience the experience of presence. Nothing will actually be true. It'll just be words from Eckhart. It'll just be words from Elie Wiesel. It'll be just words, but experience the experience.
Or Krishnamurti or Bashar or Hicks, until you actually practice it and put it into motion for yourself as a reality, as your own reality. Mm-hmm. They're words. They're signposts that were like, going grabbing by in the car, going, oh hey.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you, Kelly. Ken, did you want to say something about this? Conditioned patterns, and I'm getting overwhelmed.
Yes. Wow. I can't believe how much I'm mirroring so much being said. And that's how I got here. That's how I got on this panel, is so much of what April was saying and what Kelly was saying. And also, Poonam, what you're saying about presence. And I'm realizing that without the presence, it's almost like a truth serum. It's like it got me out of my head of thinking. And it's like giving birth to, and I love what everybody was saying about we change. And I'm like, I'm seeing changes. I get people telling me, what's happening to you? And I just smile. And it's so, I'm amazed at the confidence level, but a lot of that is self-love. It's confidence, it's letting go, it's trusting, it's getting out of the head, and it's being into the awareness. And if I'm feeling uncomfortable, bring it on. That's my teacher. So it's like, I'm not questioning it. I'm just stepping into it. So it's really, it's, to me, it's such an incredible experience. And then the listening, the letting go of feeling like I'm a failure, or letting go of all the negative thinking, and just saying, just don't go there anymore. So, and it is a retraining. And every day I have to do the maintenance. And it's like, I got to eat right. I want to exercise, be spiritually fit, do what works for me, and follow my inner magnet. It will take me to what I need. And it's paying attention, disciplining myself. So it's really helping me. And I'm starting to tell people that I used to say yes to, and I'm saying no. And they say, so I'm losing friends. I'm letting go. I'm realizing I have a purpose. And I'm like, okay, I have to keep pushing myself through that that wall, the wall of it's not serving me. And if I don't go ahead with it, I don't feel good. So I really have to say I'm here for a purpose, and know that. And as long as I work in that direction and the right people are coming on my path, I want to say that just like I've heard from April, how I got here was through prayer and meditation. I wanted to be a speaker for 20 years, been petrified of it. And I'm like, okay. And then when people started talking about Wayne Dyer, different people, I'm like, what? It's like all of a sudden I'm hearing myself in everybody. And I'm like, okay, all right. I know I found, and it's like, I look so forward to being on the panel now on Friday nights or whatever. So it's just something where I'm like, and then I'm thinking, oh my God, when I hear Kelly, you're so much better than me. I'm like, oh no, when I first heard you, I'm like, I'm sweating. And I'm like, it's okay. He's just Kelly. He's just being himself. Don't go there. It's only fear. Don't let the fear run my life. So I'm like, this is so cool. And now I'm feeling like I'm your equal. You're no better than me, and I'm no better than you. And to feel that, I'm like, wow. So I just feel like I'm really pushing through and not allowing to hold me back. So thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ken. You're increasing that 3-meter field. Like, we were talking about love. So I remember, like, as a teenager, I had that clingy love, right? I want you, I need you. And it's totally different now. It's like just a pure, pristine, loving kindness with a Christina that I don't even know her language. We just message back and forth, right? And she translates it, and then I translate her message in Google Translate, and we've never spoken to each other. But there is so much love. She's been doing the moderation for our group since year 2019, and I found her and I selected her that come moderate our group. So there was like a bond that brought us together. So I
Yes.
agree. And I love this love that is so unconditional and
Oh,
it's just pure. It's just pure, right? There's so
absolutely.
much purity, crystal purity, clarity in it. Thank
Absolutely.
you, crystalline. Thank you, Ken, for bringing that. Patricia, you want to wrap it up? You have any questions? And I'll check online as well.
I do have practical question. So when the person that asks questions or myself, because I feel like I'm a little behind Ken. Ken is much further. He's like showing me what I can get to once I keep doing my everyday practice. But in that moment of overwhelm, is there like a practical thing? Okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed, so I'm admitting it to myself, I'm noticing it. But part of the problem is that it's so sometimes you're starting to judge yourself, or if I can even do it, it's, do I believe in this shit? You know, sorry. But is there anything in that very moment to actually do, to self-talk, anything physically, any exercise in that moment when you realize and you feel that overwhelm, to actually get out that? Because I think why people don't do it or run away from it, because it's so uncomfortable. And we think that spiritual practice and self-mastery is supposed to put us in that space when we feel good all the time, but it's not the case. So we're looking, I guess, for some instant reward, just to say, you're on the right path, here, have a candy, you know, whatever the candy is, just to make it like motivational to keep going, instead of just saying, okay, so I'm doing that spiritual practice, but it's gonna just get worse because all this stuff's gonna come out and I don't know if I can deal with it. You know, seeing yourself and having to forgive yourself for so much. You know, I'm still like suffering with that. It's like, okay. On one hand, intellectually, I understand what Eckhart says about being in the present and, you know, not being conditioned mind, stop the thinking. But in that moment, when I realize, I don't know, it's just, I don't know where to pull sometimes that self-love from.
April, did you have something for Patricia?
So it is a process, and it is not always easy. It's not always fun. It doesn't always feel good. And it depends on what surfaces. But what I can tell you from myself is that whatever is surfacing is meant to surface. Whatever is coming up is like the next step. It's the next process in the journey. And remember that emotions are just really indicators that your perception of yourself and your worth is off. It is not in a line with source. It is not in line with truth, because if it was in line, you'd feel happy all the time, right? Because there is only one energy for the creator, and that is love. So if you are not feeling that, is because you have a belief, a perception, a pattern, a condition that is off, that needs to be corrected. And that is the process of evolution. That's the process of the spiritual journey. That's the process of healing. Okay. Even I listen to some teachers, and the question says, what if you follow several teachers? We all follow several teachers. We all have several teachers. I can tell you some of my biggest teachers are my dang children.
Oh,
Okay.
mine too. I have 19-year-old.
Yeah. So we can follow several teachers and we can get concepts from each and every one of them. And you do take what applies for you and what works for you. So even I listen to teachers, and there's some that I listen to that are a little more advanced. And I think, oh, what? I don't get that. Right. And there are some teachers that like you said earlier, every time I listen to them, I think, did he say that last time? Because I could have swore he didn't say that, because you get what you're ready to get, because it's a process. So you might listen to it the first time and you get a couple concepts, but then you integrate, like Kelly's saying, we integrate and with that process, those ideas, those concepts, those new energies. Once you integrate those new energies, you listen to them again. Now you hear a different level. So to judge yourself, just don't. When I do that, when I say to myself, oh, well, I guess I'm kind of not so up there on the spiritual, that's ego, right? We all want to be up there on the spiritual scale, right? And we're going to be up at the top, but that's ego. So when you say that, it's important to remember that you are exactly where you need to be. It is a process. And that once you integrate this new information, then the next time you listen to it, you're going to be at a new level. The other thing that I always do is I do the Heart Math Institute work, where I center through the heart chakra and synchronize the heart and the brain, do the breathing. That's always an instant. One of my biggest practices that I've mentioned to you guys is I always remind myself, and I do sit in my body. So I don't want to Kelly get him be shaking his finger at me. I do breathe and I sit back into my body, but I remind myself whenever I'm having a struggle, I am not this body, I am spirit. I am not this body, I am spirit. This body is an experience. What I truly am is source. I am soul. I'm just having this experience. I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. I'm okay. Everything is perfectly okay. Okay. But I don't want to sidestep the importance of the human body, but I do remind myself I am more than this body. Okay. And that one really, for me, that one really helps me to know, to put things in perspective, that it's okay. It's going to work out.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Yes, to disconnect with that feeling. Okay. Right.
The one thing that came up as you were describing, Patricia, was that in itself is a limiting belief.
Oh,
I'm getting
another one.
I am getting overwhelmed. Once you start that thought, I'm getting overwhelmed, right? The thought is a signal out, and your emotional field will keep pulling experience. I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm getting overwhelmed. More of the negative thoughts will come through. Something else. Oh, look at my daughter, and look at my life situation, and look at this, and look at the grocery store. Now it's making me overwhelmed. And look at the traffic. Now that's getting me overwhelmed. And look at this neighborhood. There's so much noise. That's getting me overwhelmed. You'll spiral into overwhelm. So the antidote to that limiting belief is appreciation, gratitude. Like you are in the limiting belief of I'm overwhelmed, you're not seeing how many things are going right. So the moment since you have that, which is amazing, incredible, right? That you already have the awareness, or I have this habit condition pattern of getting overwhelmed. So it's a conditioned pattern, right? Of the past. The past has no power over the present moment. Come into this present moment. What can I see as synchronicity, right? Like you were saying right before you joined, the fact that you were in this group and say, oh, I'm looking forward to joining the Facebook Q&A. I'm looking forward to, so that future moment where you're going to feel joy, like change it to joy instead of the overwhelm. Immediately your whole state in your body will change, and that overwhelm will stop all the negativity in your what you're pulling in your experience from happening as well. So gratitude, appreciation, and synchronicity. Like I myself, I sometimes, I go, oh, I say that's an affirmation, that's I see synchronicity every day, right? So one day I went, oh, I didn't see any synchronicity today. And then I realized at work, a couple of months back, somebody at work had told me, he was suggesting it for another coworker of mine. He was saying, why doesn't this person do some PowerPoint teachings, right? Classes. So I went, once that suggestion came, I went ahead and signed up for the classes, and I took PowerPoint classes, not realizing last week my executive asked me to do a deck. Like we have an all hands meeting. So they asked me to do put together an executive presentation, and I had to use the skills that I got from those classes. But look at that synchronicity, intuition. Like the universe presented somebody 2 months back that gave me a pointer. Hey, take up classes, right? For somebody else, not for me. But then look how it helped me. So then I had this gratitude, and my whole emotional state changed within 1 second. One thought of there's no synchronicity to, oh, look, this is so incredible. And I recognize, like, if you notice in the group, when somebody says something that that was like Nada saying something that I say something, or I may have thought, just like April said something, and I had just posted that this morning. Look at the synchronicity that she talked about. How do you alter the past? How's the energy frequency changed? And I had just posted that in the Facebook group this morning.
So just for that one more question, actually, because when I used to learn about how human mind works, that we looking for information outside that confirm the belief that we already know. So it's a matter of perception, and we kind of ignore maybe the signs that wouldn't agree with us. So they call it that selective perception. How does that go with synchronicity? Is it, so it would be there too, but like you would not think of someone offering PowerPoint as a kind of universe trying to tell you something if you didn't already knew in your head kind of that you needed to do this, but you were not conscious of it, right? Is that make sense? The selective perception versus synchronicity, is that the same thing?
Synchronicity breaks the perception. Synchronicities come in and they break that. Remember I said those blinders?
Mm-hmm.
They open up.
Yeah, it opens up. So it still happens. And when it happens and you notice it, it takes the blinders off. The blinders are what you're talking about, where I won't notice it because I have this belief. So I don't see anything outside of this. Synchronicities help to break those.
Kelly wanted to say something. Thank you, April. Beautiful.
Yeah, actually pretty much what April said. The selective, I've got a background in psychology from the University of Winnipeg. Never finished my degree because there are too many egos and people didn't want to hear anything outside of their limited perception of reality. Learning experience. The selective reinforcement of our ego attachments, the way that we understand what is actually synchronicity in the universe talking to us, is through discernment of feeling. Your ego feels a very specific way energetically. Your heart feels completely different. The universe feels completely different still. So this is why having a meditation practice And a daily practice of observation is so important, because then you learn the different feelings. And then, like today I had, I don't know, about 3 or 4 synchronicities. And I was just like, oh yeah, okay, drive around. It's another day at the office. There we go. It's just, normal. It's sort of one of those things when we begin to understand the synchronicities and feel them and experience them, that they're like, oh wow, oh my God, the universe, look at it go. And then it's just like, yeah, cool. All right. It's that dissonance that happens when we first begin to observe them, and we begin to accept that there is more, that something more is happening, that causes to sort of, our egos go, yeah, but we want to like stay in control here. Like, don't look at that. Don't, so the ability to discern the feelings. And April brilliantly said again, the synchronicities happen to break our hold on ourselves. And they happen. And once we begin to see them, again, it's like the yellow truck. It's like, oh my God, the yellow trucks are everywhere. And then it's like, oh yeah, cool, yellow truck. It's that progression through the understanding, through the acceptance and the integration, and how you change into a new space of acceptance. And allowing that the universe is doing stuff, is responding to you. When at first you do respond and you accept and you open up, and bam, again, yellow trucks everywhere. And then when it's become normal and it stopped being this big bells and whistles thing, then it's just like, oh yeah, another day in the office. Cool. All right. I'm going to sit here, sip my coffee, watch the universe do its thing. I appreciate that.
I like that. I like that. It's much more like, lighter. Not that serious, like Eckhart says. Life is not that serious once you up there out of your ego.
I made comments about, is this like a moment where I should like go get my popcorn and watch the movie?
Playful, right? Playful.
Yeah, I'm a big serious martial artist, but I'm a huge teddy bear at heart, a big silly goof, and I love, it's how I love teaching, is through being silly and giving those lighter impressions, those playful impressions, because our minds is like, and I'm so been there about being super serious, super committed, super dedicated, super everything, super Saiyan, whatever, superhero, about everything spiritual. And then I went, wow, am I doing a number on myself? Okay, I'm going to take this t-shirt off, and it's just like, put that on the hanger. I don't need that anymore. And, and it's just a learning process. It's just a learning process. You did ask a question about practical things you can do. One of my favorite things is to do something physical, even if it's just wiggling my toes. When you wiggle your toes, right, what does it do? If you wiggle your toes right now, what does it do? Your brain goes, hey, what's going on down there? And also, one of the things, I use mantras, Om Mani Padme Hum, use that for 30 years. I also do simple things like, I am light, 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 I am light. Or one of my favorites is, I am love. I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love. And when you do those, when you use mantras, when you repetitively, and again, Poonam excellently said in terms of like how you have to balance things out, how you have to rewire that script inside your head. When you do that, you give yourself a tool. You give yourself a conscious, concrete tool that you can use anywhere. You just say to yourself, no one needs to know, but it changes that script. And from my experience, you'll get to a point where you'll feel pushback and resistance. That you're actually on the threshold of changing something major when you can't even get through the one sentence, and your ego resists. And then you feel that resistance, and then you can feel what that resistance is doing with your mind, your body, and your heart. And then you go, aha. And of course, your mind is like, look over there. Don't look at us. Don't look at what we're doing. We're nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. But it's that feeling. It's that feeling of discernment.
What you can do.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. That's mantras. Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelly. What I was going to suggest on your suggestion was what Dr. Joe Dispenza says is create a mind movie. So take what the affirmations Kelly is saying. If you want, I'll give you the affirmations that Dr. Joe Dispenza recommends in Supernatural, Becoming Supernatural. I'll put it in your Facebook Messenger. Make it like I don't know if you know how to do PowerPoint and make it into a video, or go into Canva and make it into a video and play that video on your phone.
Oh.
And it becomes a mind movie. So it almost is you're programming your brain to, like one of his affirmations is, I'm an unlimited genius. Right? The power is within me and all around me. How many times do you feel the power is within me? And then he has a walking meditation. The power is within me and all around me. The more you feel that power, that it's within me and it's all around me, right? You say that over and see that over and over again as a movie, it gets absorbed, and then you feel that power, that I'm empowered, that power is within me, that there's no overwhelm, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, especially for, I'm visual. I'm a lot of, so
Yeah.
if I have an image, that will
So
be very helpful.
create a mind movie and message me directly. If you are having issues, I can create it for you and give you the video, and you can keep playing it.
That would
Just
be
give me
amazing.
just give me the affirmations that you want as part of the movie, and I'll create the video for you. I'll do it in PowerPoint and you can just play it. Or I can do it in Canva as well, and you can just play the movie. And he says put it to a sound. So I put it to one of the, I play some music right before the meditation. I put it to that sound. So every time I hear it, I can see the visuals.
It brings it up, exactly. Sometimes also with a certain smell too, but obviously we can do it over the
over. So that's a good suggestion. Thank you, Kelly, for the affirmation piece. That's a good way to change your mood, emotional field from I'm overwhelmed to gratitude and I have the power, right?
It's one of my primary tools. Yep.
Beautiful. Thank you. So at this point, I think we've spoken for a very, very long time today. I am eternally grateful to all of you for being here. April, Kelly, Ken, Patricia, and for those that were online, Kathy, Cecile, Trish. I think we didn't get one of the questions, but we can do it next week. And Summer was online as well. So thank you so much and have a fantastic weekend. And we do have one reminder is we do have a workshop. So see you all on the workshop. I think I'm going to see everyone that's on the screen at the workshop. So much love. Many blessings. Have a good night. Good night.
Very
Bye.
grateful to all.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.